Hey, I'm Joe Fagundes. This is Joe Knows Paradise. I'm so glad you joined us today. Today we've got a topic that's affecting everyone in our business. It's the NAR, Department of Justice Settlement. With all these new regulations and rules and the ideology that goes into this that are coming up August 17th. It's a total transition for our industry. In a lot of ways it's a good thing, in a lot of ways it's not. But it is what it is, and we're all going to be adapting to it. So look forward to talking about that with you today, and hopefully I'll provide you some good information. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out, 850-699-7047. You know, one of the buzz things in our industry right now, and it's been being talked about now for several months, is the Department of Justice and the National Association of Realtors have reached a agreement. I guess you would call it that. It's more like a settlement. The National Association of Realtors is an industry group that everybody that works in our area, if they're a member of the MLS or the e-car here, they're a National Association of Realtor member. The Department of Justice has decided that even though, and I'm going to speak specifically to e-car and our MLS, that commissions were always negotiable. We absolutely were transparent about it because we put them on the listings in the MLS so that every agent could see what had been pre-negotiated with the seller to pay the buyer's agents, that was no longer okay. So what they have done is they've said, effective August 17th, you no longer can display buyer's agent commissions, and if a seller chooses not to pay a buyer's agent, that's okay. Because now buyer's agents and buyers in particular, before they tour a home, are going to have a buyer's broker representative agreement, in place that defines exactly what they're compensating their buyer's agent for. Now, with all that being said, this new rule, and I'm kind of going to read some of this just because I want to make sure I get it right. Obviously, some of this is going to be my opinion, but I want to make sure that we handle the details of this correctly. So the new rules prohibit any requirements for brokers or sellers to offer compensation to buyer brokers through the MLS. They'll no longer include that field on what the member agents see as far as compensation goes. Right now, if in our listing agreements, we have a space and it shows exactly what the buyer's agent is going to receive if they get this particular home or particular property under contract. That is going away. What that's going to do is that's going to call your buyer's agent to have to do a little more legwork up front. Not only are they going to have the buyer's representative agreement with their client, but now they're going to call every individual seller listing agent and find out if the seller is offering any concessions or compensation for the buyer's agent. It's probably going to go to 50-50, guys. I think it's crazy because you're already making a fair percentage more if you're using an agent. And industry shows that your sale price on average is $36,000 higher on a regular $650,000 home. So, you get into homes in Santa Rosa Beach and whatnot, it's even more. You're going to see buyer's agents that aren't offered any compensation. They're going to have to go back to their buyer and say, look, we can get this done for you. Here's my fee. 2%, 2.5%, 3%. It now can be a hard number. So your buyers are going to understand this, and there's going to be some disruption in the industry because of this. The mandatory written agreements for the buyers are going to be required before they show a home. Even open houses now, the giant Zillow came out with their own form that says, hey, you can tour this house for 7 days without a buyer's agent, but you cannot put an offer in without one. So, the compensation disclosure, brokers are going to be required to disclose any compensation agreements to both buyers and sellers. We're already doing that in our MLS. Now, everything's going to be laid out up front. So I've got 123 Rainbow Drive over here for sale, and it's for sale for $1 million, and my seller says, hey, Joe, I'm going to pay you 3% to market this and sell it. And my buddy over here, fellow agent, comes in, makes an offer, and says, hey, Joe, are they offering any buyer's compensation? And I'm going to say they're not specifically offering buyer's compensation, but you can request it when you put your offer in as a seller concession. Doesn't mean we're going to take it, but it means it's available there. Well, he's already had to get a buyer's representative agreement with his buyer, and it says that he's going to make 2.5%. So that $25,000 commission that he's going to receive, if he asks for that in the seller concessions and my seller says no, but we'll give him 10, he's going to have to go back, because it's a contract now with his buyer, and say, all right, I've got this house for you. They're willing to pay, almost a third of my fee, or a little more than a third of my fee. So the seller's going to concede $10,000, but because of my services I provided to you, there's going to be $15,000 added onto the price of the house, or in the end of the transaction, not to the price of the house. So, big changes. A lot of people are going to struggle with this. There's a lot of agents that are going to struggle with this. There's a lot of brokers that are going to struggle with this. And there are a lot of clients that are going to struggle with this. Knowing the value for the agent and what they're able to talk to their sellers and their buyers about and show their value is going to be more important than ever now. One of the last and biggest things about the DOJ settlement is MLS systems and their participants are prohibited from filtering or restricting MLS listings communicated to clients on the compensation offered to cooperating brokers. Basically, it means you can't steer. We've never been able to steer. It's illegal. It's unethical. But if you're working with a buyer's agent who's only going to take you to homes that are showing that they're going to offer a concession for the buyer's agent, then you're not seeing everything you should see. And that's what's going to really trip some people up. We want to make sure, and I in particular want to make sure that my clients are seeing everything that meets the needs that they're looking for. I don't typically even look at what compensation is. I'm looking at the product, I'm looking at the house, I'm looking at the location, I'm looking, we've gone through a laundry list of interviews and talks about, what their needs are, what their likes are, their style, all of those types of things. And I'm only looking at houses that fit that. I'm not looking at anything else. And I think that's going to be even more important than ever as we go forward, because it's about the client, it's about the relationship, and you've heard me say that numerous times. So these changes that go into effect August 17th are really going to affect a lot of people from both the transaction side into, and especially to the client side. We've got to educate, take care of, and establish value for the clients that we represent. And I'll give you a great example. People say, oh, well, you don't need a real estate agent. Let's just get a real estate attorney. Well, you can, and there's a lot of people that are qualified to do that, but there's a lot of people that aren't. And the best example I can give you is, when you go in to buy a new car, which is now is a substantial investment, but not anything like what you're going to do with a house, you're talking to a salesman there. Well, that salesman isn't working for you, he's working for the dealership. And then once you get past him, then you go to the business manager, who again is working for the dealership, not for you. So you're going in unrepresented to buy an asset, and how many of us walk out of dealerships or avoid dealerships altogether because of the way they make us feel? What we're doing with this is we are absolutely taking putting the client and the consumer first. It is about taking care of the needs, wants, and desires of somebody that is making the biggest investment typically they're ever going to make in their life. So, bear with some of your agents, bear with some of your brokers. It is going to be a transition. Cutoff date's August 17th. If you have any questions, I hope you'll reach out to me. You can always reach me at 850-699-7047. Again, it's joeknowsparadise.com. I look forward to helping you any way I can and providing guidance. If you already have an agent, That's great. Talk to them. It's a great time to get filled in on all this new ideology that's going on in our industry.